Welcome to another episode of my Motortown playthrough. Today we are going to do something a bit special. Not necessarily in an exciting way, but I wanted to show you guys my process for track making for a while now, and I finally have a good occasion where I can show you basically the essentials, but also have something finished in the end without it taking too much work. Basically, I made a track 2 days ago, and with another testing update, the road layout changed. So, yeah, gonna have to do some adjustments, but it's not gonna be too much. So, I think it's gonna be the exact right amount to show you guys what I've always been talking about regarding this stuff. So, first up, let's start a new event. Get the track in as it is right now. And let's just do a lap around there. I'm gonna start it already because I don't really care about the time. Really, I should be getting to the starting line right there before doing anything else, but it's gonna be alright. Immediately getting the cops on my back, but I don't care. So we're just gonna take this car for a spin. I might actually need to stop by the gas station because I spawned it in and didn't really notice that missing fuel and all of that. But hey, we have one coming up in a moment, so I might as well. Also, the V12 just drinks way too much fuel. So, quick pit stop right here. And yeah, I hope the cops don't catch me in the meantime, but I mean, this thing, they really need to catch me parked, otherwise they have no chance at all. This thing is a beast. I think I was still meaning to do something about the suspension because that stuff is kinda killing me here. Way too wobbly. But yeah, this part of the track, no problem at all. Took me a while to figure out where to put which checkpoint and all of that, but in the end, not a real problem. Gonna stay on Jijo here, not moving over to Anson and Oji and yeah. Thanks, Ghost. Can't wait for those things to be removed again. Also would finally love to have a traffic switch in order to not have to deal with all the stuff on the road. But we are about to come up to the issue now. And with the current placement of the checkpoints, it's gonna be really obvious what's going wrong here. So we turn left here. And we have this checkpoint, which is already angled because there used to be a corner here. And then there used to be another corner over here. And then getting back onto the main track right there, and this is basically how it's gonna continue. So yeah, we straightened out this part. I mean, it was kinda unnecessary. There wasn't really a reason to go all squiggly road style there. But I kinda like the corners, especially the one that would be coming up in a moment. Because the one that used to be on the left there was a really nice turn. Little bit of a left-hand turn right here, and then a nicely banked turn back to the right. But yeah, that also got removed alongside the intersection being moved up here. So if we look on the map now, you can still see some of the old layout, how that used to go. And yeah, I don't know. As the area is right now, it makes more sense for it to be all a bit more straightforward, but I really like the curves, and I think it gave a nice little contrast to some of the more straightforward roads here. A bit more variety, but now, yeah, that's been streamlined. I'm feeling a bit mixed about it. Although I can see that, especially for buses and trucks, some of those bends were kind of annoying in the long run. And Motor Town isn't primarily a racing game, so it makes sense to get rid of some of the stuff. Anyways, that's the current state of things. Took me 4 minutes with a few stops here and there, so not really too long. And now we need to get into the editing. And here you need to keep in mind that I'm basically working with 3 different versions of the track. We have the one that I imported into the game right now, but we also have one in the text editing right here. And I'm going to open up another tab, and this is going to be where the, you know what, let's do it the other way around. Let's put the current version in here as a backup, and this one is going to be the final version once that's all finished. So for now we can get rid of it because it's going to be completely replaced in the end. Now to start out with, we have a lot of these checkpoints, and I should let my driver let through here while I do the tech stuff and everything in game. We have a lot of checkpoints here that are actually still good, and I want to use them for the new version. So I'm gonna go into edit, and I'm just gonna take out the last few checkpoints. Everything from checkpoint 1 until 17 is still where it needs to be, so everything after needs to go, so we are going to cut out all of that. Just like that, this is all that's good to go, so I'm gonna export it to my clipboard. And this is what I'm going to not do here, but actually put in here. So yeah, this will basically be a point-to-point track now. But we are also gonna need the other half of it. So I'm not gonna go to OK because I actually want to have the full track again. Because while we now have basically a backup of all the good checkpoints up until the changes, we now need to make everything happen that comes after that point. So I'm gonna take out everything including up to checkpoint 17. And now we are going to see, first up, I don't need these ones anymore, but this is the next good one. So I'm going to hit export again. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out for myself how I want to do this. So tap over into this one again. And maybe I'm gonna get another one just to be sure here. Just gonna put this in here, and now we have all the remaining checkpoints from what would be checkpoint 18 forward. And I know already that this one is good to go because this is another one of those checkpoints from before. And you know what? Let me take another look because I think, yeah, number 2 and 3 are also as they were before. Nothing changed around here. Funnily enough, these are the only things that I wish changed. This little S-band right here is actually quite tricky. And not necessarily in a good way. But yeah, let's see. So I want to have 3 checkpoints from here. So I'm gonna be using that. Control X to remove them because I don't need them here anymore. I'm gonna put them back into this track and at the very end of that. So that should be after this bracket, another comma right here, and there we go. So this is now up to that other point. So far I've only cut out the checkpoints that I don't need anymore, and since this is now all just a straight, I don't need any replacements. Now with checkpoint number 4, 5 and 6, this is gonna be a bit different. But since I want to edit just them, I'm going to take out the stuff beforehand because this is already good to go. And I would really like to only have the checkpoints that I'm working on in this version and have the one that I'm currently working on be number 1, because that makes changing the stuff a lot easier. I think it might also be a good idea at this point to just remove all of them as well, because I'm going to be replacing them. So I think I'm going to need another checkpoint right here. We're going to make that checkpoint 1. And there's at least going to be another one right here on the intersection. Oh yeah, wait, I need to also export it because I need to actually work on this stuff while looking at it as well. Theoretically, I don't even need the second version anymore. I only need one temporary one for the stuff that I'm also having in-game. So yeah, this is now only the last few checkpoints, and we're going to first up drive over to the place where I need to be now for checkpoint 1. Gonna wait for the countdown. And yeah, with this car I don't really even need the road, I'm just gonna go cross-country for a moment. Might as well make some use of my wobbly suspension setup. Okay, let's see. First up, I need to figure out the correct position. I think I shouldn't have really driven through this. Let's restart now because I need to see this thing. Ready, start, and yeah. I may want to have it a bit further forward. But for stuff like this, I really like to drive a bit further back down the track and then come up to it as I would in a racing situation. So once we go through this little set of corners, this is when we would see the next checkpoint ahead, and I mean, yeah, that's pretty much fine right there. Again, I shouldn't have driven through that, but for this one I don't need to do too much. I'm gonna just set it up to be a bit wider, and that's gonna be it. So let's go with that. It's currently 14, which is a very common number for the width. And yeah, scale 3D is basically the size of it, as shown in here. X is how thick the checkpoint is. Leave it to 1 because there's no real reason to make it any thicker, otherwise it is basically going to become a tunnel. Y is the width, about 10 for a narrow 2-lane road or 14 for a wider one. The narrow one is more like the side roads in Gangyang and that kind of stuff. X is the height, 10 by default, and I really only need to take care of a Y value, and I think I'm feeling maybe 20 for this one. And to check it all out, we are just gonna mark everything, copy it again, and then bring it over into the game. Edit, import, confirm, ready, set, go. Oh, and it's going right up to the lamppost. I think that's pretty much perfect there. So this checkpoint is pretty much where it needs to be. So we can now go back into the text editing. Take the first checkpoint and just take it out. Put it into the finished version, of course, at the very end. Another comma, another thing right here. I can also leave a comma for the next one because we're not at the end yet. And then just go back into the game because now we are coming up to an intersection and that's actually going to be very complicated comparatively. we are going to need to rotate it, move it around, and for that I want to first up make sure that I'm actually facing north with my vehicle. Just so that I know that when I move it into a certain direction, it's gonna be where I want it to be. So the car is basically serving as a compass here. So yeah, that seems to be good. The arrow here is pointing pretty much north, and that means that this is the direction the car is facing. Okay, let's see. To start out with, I think I want the checkpoint pretty much perpendicular to the car, and maybe ideally touching the side of the road sign there. So we can pause the game right now so that I don't run into any traffic issues with whatever was coming up right there. And we go back into text editing on the current version. Since I just took out the first checkpoint, we are now working on the one that I'm at right now. Okay, first up, let's put the width of the checkpoint to 22. And make sure that the W, which is... it's a weird thing. Ideally it should be 1. This doesn't really do much, but it seems to be a modifier for everything else that we have above it for the rotation. And to rotate the checkpoint, I'm only going to be working with the Z value. And yeah, this is where my chart over here comes into play. My car is facing north, and I basically want the checkpoint to be perpendicular to that. So I need this one to be somewhere around here, so -1. Maybe I even want it to be a bit further up here, so let's go with... we could basically leave it as this. And I'm gonna go with 0.95 minus, very important. Moving the checkpoint, I think we want to go a bit further west, or no, a bit further east. So by just a few meters, that means getting to the third digit before the comma. And I want to reduce the value here, since it's negative. So let's go with a 2. And maybe I also want to go a bit further to the north here, so we would go down to maybe 8.8. Something like that. Now let's copy this one over and put it back into the game. Since I have one fewer checkpoints here, that's also gonna get rid of the one behind me. That's actually not too shabby for the first attempt. I could actually almost go with this. I think I want it to be angled a bit further clockwise. And then also move it over towards the pole there, so that's a bit further east. Okay, now that we know that, let's go back in here. And let's go down to -0.85 for the rotation. And to move it further east, we need to decrease the value a bit further. Let's go with 19 instead. And since I'm rotating it, I think I'm gonna need another meter on here. So putting that further north, just like that. And now we go back in and yeah, just adjust it again. Okay, that was maybe a bit far, but it's not too far off. Let's check this out. Maybe I didn't need to go north. I think just going south and west by 1 meter each might be doing it. So yeah, let's do that. And you can already tell that these kind of checkpoints, they actually take quite a bit of time. So going west means putting this to 0 again. And going south by 1 meter means putting this back up to 8. And let's just see. And now imagine doing this from scratch for 50 checkpoints. I'm not entirely sure if I'm fully happy with the rotation yet, and I should really figure that one out. So let's get back in here. I mean, you know what, let's check this out from a different angle. How does it look when I come through here? Okay, coming through here, you already get a bit of an angle on the entire thing. If you were coming in from right here, so you're going straight into the thing, it would be a different story, but if you reach the intersection from more of this angle, you can already kind of see around the corner. So I might as well make some use out of it. So yeah, let's see. We can go and put this to 0.6. And see where we end up right here. This should make the entire thing much steeper, and I think that would be preferable. The further it goes into the road, which we are not going to take for the track, the easier it is to mistake it for going the wrong direction. But yeah, this seems like a better idea, and I only basically need to move it north by like 2 or 3 meters. More like 3 meters, so let's just do that. Yeah. Okay, minus y by 3 meters, that would be 5. And let's get that back into the game. Usually I just turn on some music during this, and that's basically how that all goes. Also, usually I'm doing this on the second screen, but since I cannot show you both screens at the same time, I'm now basically doing all on the main one. I mean, this would be good enough, but I think I can do some better here. After all, with my tracks, I'm really hoping to get people to do them more than once. For a single time use, then it wouldn't really be worth all the work that I'm putting into this. But for people to maybe use them a few more times in different other events, I can put a bit more effort into this. Let's just go with 0.5 meter. So mark all, copy, and now insert back into the game. This is the last checkpoint, by the way, that we need to do stuff about. And yeah, I think I'm happy with this. This is looking nice. We have a bit of space on the outside. I could have maybe made this a bit longer, but you should have enough opportunity to go wherever you want. So yeah, we can now go back into the text editor. And I think basically, yeah, everything we have here is what we need, apart from the header with the name. So I'm just gonna completely copy the last few checkpoints, take them out, put them in here. I don't need those 2 brackets. And if I did everything correctly, we should be able to now copy everything and insert it into the game. If I go into event now, hit import, and I don't get the pop-up when I did something wrong. Thankfully I didn't. And now we have the entire track put back together. but minus the checkpoints that we don't need anymore, and with the other ones adjusted and put into their correct place. So I'm just gonna start the race, but I'm immediately going to teleport back over to the starting line. Helps putting that somewhere close to a property or something. So yeah, that's pretty much time now to just have another run around it, and let's see if everything is working out. When I'm making tracks from scratch, I now also have a template for that, which is basically the entire structure of the checkpoints, but everything is at 0 apart from one coordinate, so that I can tell if it's the first, the second, or the 49th checkpoint. But yeah, everything up here, of course, still the same as per usual. And then we should just be seeing the new checkpoints once we get to that section. If we get to that section. Jesus Christ, that thing didn't even want to break anymore. Also, I was considering this for a Formula SCM event, but I really like the more curvy roads there, and I'm not entirely sure if it's gonna work out too well with the more straightened up ones. But yeah, I needed to get this done sooner than later, because I already put this into track storage on the TWL Discord server, and now I had to put down a disclaimer that it's not really working on the current version. But yeah, now we just have another checkpoint over here. This is one of the old ones. Could have maybe widened that as well. I might as well go back to that and do that in a moment. But yeah, this is the first new one. The second new one definitely telling you to go right here. And that basically allows me to complete the track again. So yeah, last hairpin, which is another point on why I did want to make this type, because I really like this corner, especially in this direction. And yeah, now we're just going through, or more like past Hallam, and then that's the end of the lap right here. So yeah, quick little repair. Took me pretty much half an hour for 2 checkpoints. But I mean, I also just went through here and showed you guys the entire thing beforehand. I talked through everything. Longer tracks, of course, especially when making them from scratch, they take much more time. But hey, at the end, there should be a decent track to use for the next event. And that's what I'm working towards here. So I don't mind putting in a bit of time, but it definitely helps making everything a bit more streamlined from the get-go. Like if this was my first attempt at track making and I was tasked with trying to do what I did today, it would take multiple hours, because figuring out which checkpoint is which and how to approach the stuff the best isn't that easy. The text editor really has no clear way of identifying which checkpoint you are working with. It's really all just down to you either counting through all of them or having something else, like in this case I make sure that the one that I'm working on is always going to be the first in the list. So yeah, I hope I made some of what I'm doing here with checkpoints and everything a bit more clear. If you have any questions, let me know, but yeah. I'm not entirely sure if this was an exciting episode or so, but I wanted to make it anyways because I think the whole track making stuff in this game is pretty cool, but it's also not that convenient. I wish it was more straightforward and didn't require a third-party tool like Notepad or something. But hey, at the end, the results are pretty good and I'm happy with that, so definitely worth putting in the additional time over just going in and placing down the checkpoints using them as is, because I don't think that's really working out too well in a lot of situations. But anyways, that's the end of the episode. Thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of it. And till next time, have a good one and bye bye.